Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki Jai, Shri Shri Prabhu Shingadev ki Jai. Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 20, Text 21. This is a very particular purport by Srila Prabhupada because he very rarely speaks about geopolitical events and geopolitical or specific government policies. And in this purport, he speaks both about the India-Pakistan War of 1971 and also about this termination of the prohibition. Prohibition meaning when the government completely bans the use of alcohol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You can see in the screen or you can see in the board, whatever you prefer. Saadirajo rachitanjalir harim. Vilokitum nashakat ashrulochanaha. Nakinchano vacho sabhashpa viplavo. Hridopaguyamum adad avastitaha. Adirajo rachitanjalir harim vilokitum nashakadashulochanaha kinchano vacha sabashpaviklavo hridopaguyamum adhadavashtitaha. Vaishnavis. Rajo rachitanjalir harim vilokitum nashakad ashrulochana. Saha, he, Adi Raja, the original king, Rachita Anjali, with folded hands, Harim, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vilokitum, to look upon, Na, not, Ashakat, was able. Ashrulochanaha, his eyes full of tears. Na, not. Kinchana, anything. Uvacha, spoke. Saha, he. Bashpaviklavaha, his voice being choked up. Rida, with his heart. Upaghuya, embracing. Amum, the Lord. Adat, he remained. Avastitaha. Translation in purport by Srila Prabhupada. The original king, Maharaj Prithu, his eyes full of tears and his voice faltering and choked up, could neither see the Lord very distinctly nor speak to address the Lord in any way. He simply embraced the Lord within his heart and remained standing in that way with folded hands. Purport. Just as Krishna is addressed in the Brahma Samhita as Adi Purusha, the original personality, so King Prithu, being an empowered incarnation of the Lord, is referred to in this verse as Adi Raja, the original or ideal king. He was a great devotee and at the same time a great hero who conquered over all undesirable elements in his kingdom. He was so powerful that he was equal in fighting to Indra, the king of heaven. He gave protection to his citizens, keeping them engaged in pious activities and devotion to the Lord. He did not collect a single cent of taxes from the citizens without being able to give them protection from all calamities. The greatest calamity in life is to become godless and therefore sinful. If the state head or king allows the citizens to become sinful by indulging in illicit sex life, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, then the king is responsible. The king or whoever, of course, is in charge. And he has to suffer the resultant sequence of reaction for the sinful life of the citizens because he levies taxes on them unnecessarily. These are the principles for ruling power. And because Maharaj Prithu observed all the principles for ruling chief, is referred to here as Adi Raja. Even a responsible king like Maharaj Prithu can become a pure devotee of the first order. We can distinctly see from King Prithu's behavior how he became ecstatic, both externally and internally, in pure devotional service. Just today, we have seen in the newspapers of Bombay that the government is going to repeal its prohibition laws. Ever since Gandhi's non-cooperation movement, Bombay has been kept dry. Means no alcohol available officially. And has not allowed its citizens to drink. But unfortunately, the citizens are so clever that they have increased illicit distillation of liquor. And although not being sold publicly in shops, liquor is being sold in public lavatories. Everybody understand lavatories, toilets. In similar abnormal places. Unable to check such illicit smuggling, the government has decided to manufacture the liquor at cheaper prices so that people can have their supply of intoxication directly from the government instead of purchasing it in public lavatories. The government failed to change the hearts of the citizens from indulging in sinful life. So instead of losing the taxes they collect to inflate the treasury, they have decided to manufacture liquor to supply to the citizens who hanker after it. This kind of government cannot check the resultant actions of sinful life, namely war, pestilence, famine, earthquakes, and similar other disturbances. Natural law is that as soon as there are discrepancies in regard to the law of God, which are described in Bhagavad Gita as dharmasya glanihi, or disobedience to the laws of nature or God, at once there will be heavy punishment in the form of sudden outbreaks of war. We have recently experienced a war between India and Pakistan. Within 14 days, there have been immense losses of men and money, and there have been disturbances to the entire world. These are the reactions of sinful life. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to make people pure and perfect. If we become even partially pure, as described in the Bhagavatam, nashta prayeshu badrishu, by development of Krishna consciousness, then lust and greed, the material diseases of the citizens, will be reduced. This can be made possible simply by broadcasting the pure message of Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna consciousness. Big commercial and industrial firms have contributed many thousands of rupees to a defense fund that burns the money in the form of gunpowder. But unfortunately, if they're asked to contribute liberally to advance the Krishna consciousness movement, they are reluctant. Under the circumstances, the world will periodically suffer from such upsurges and outbreaks of war, which are the consequences of not being Krishna conscious. Homa Yajna timirandasya gyananjana salakaya chakshurumrita minatasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namah Shubhadaya Krishna Namam Vishwabhadaya Krishna Mistaya Budale Shrimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasharne Nirvishesha Shunivadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Vanchakalpatrubhisya Kripasindu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So, as I said in the beginning, it's very rare that Srila Prabhupada specifically talks about geopolitical or political events. Like in this case, he talks about two things: the stop of the prohibition, the banning of alcohol, and also the war, the India-Pakistan war in 1971. In fact, he happened to be in India. Some of you may remember in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Srila Prabhupada was in India with especially Western devotees, because most devotees in India were Westerners, Europeans and Americans. So there was this curfew in Delhi. They were in Delhi and there was this curfew. Curfew means after a certain time you cannot go out. You have to have all the lights off, or at least cover all the windows because they can bomb. It was a short war, 14 days, 2 weeks. It was a very intense work. What happened is that is known as the India-Pakistan War or the Bangladesh War of Independence. What happened when the British left India, they carved India. So they made one prominently Muslim state as Pakistan. It was divided into West Pakistan and East Pakistan. A very peculiar type of country because there was like 2,500 kilometers of India in between. So there was a lot of desire in Bangladesh to become independent. Like, it happens all the time. And so the Pakistan clamped down on Bangladesh. They killed a lot of civilians. They killed all the intellectuals who were for independence. They killed a lot of Hindus, although it was not just killing Hindus. They say, nobody knows how many people they killed. The scholars say between 300,000 and 3 million. Nobody knows. They raped 200,000 to 400,000 women. So at one point, India intervened, and India won the war, imprisoned like a third of the whole Pakistan army. And Srila Prabhupada is talking about this. Srila Prabhupada. But you see, it's not really what I like to emphasize is that although he was an Indian citizen by passport and by birth, and India had a great victory militarily, he's not talking about that. He's just saying we have seen immense losses of men and money, and there have been disturbances to the entire world. This is because the pure devotee doesn't really get into party politics. And by the way, this is just a footnote, but sometimes ISKCON makes the mistake of aligning itself to a particular political party. And this is a big mistake. We can work and assist spiritually, culturally, any government, anybody who goes up We can work with them, but we cannot be identified with a particular party. That's very dangerous because party politics change. So if we become too much friendly of a party, then we'll be automatically the enemy of those who come on power later. Okay. End of footnote. Then Srila Prabhupada explained how the government is making a lot of money on the sins of people. In Bombay, from the time of Gandhi, they stopped. They said, we cannot drink alcohol. It's prohibited. But then somehow, Srila Prabhupada said, the citizens are so clever, they were manufacturing alcohol and selling in different places, especially in toilets, apparently. So the government said, look, we are losing revenues. People are drinking anyway. We are losing revenue. Let's produce ourselves, and so we make money. So I want to spend a few minutes on this. I made a little research this morning. Germany. Sales of tobacco products in 2024, cigarette tax revenue up 3.5% on a year earlier. So they increased the revenue 3.5% on cigarettes. How do they do that? This is a picture of all Europe and the percentage of tax that people have on cigarettes and other tobacco products like cigars, cigarillos. You can see the highest, you can see here, darker it is, more money the government makes. So Finland, France, Ireland, very, very high. In Deutschland, in Germany, it's kind of medium. So this is the breakdown. Excise duty for a pack of 20 cigarettes, total tax, average retail price. So final tax as share of the final selling price. In other words, how much the government gets every cigarette pack. In Germany, it gets 69%. If a pack of cigarettes costs 10 euros, the government gets 6.9 euros, which is a good business. It's a very good business. So why the government should be interested to stop smoking? They lose 7 euros every packet. So this is another graphic for you. Germany, government tax revenue, tobacco from January 2006 to January 2005. Let's say December to 24, just on tax in 1 month, they made more than 2 billion euros. 2 billion, 116,000 euros in 1 month in revenues. So obviously, from this point of view, the government has no interest to stop people from smoking. I remember once there was kind of a scandal because there was one of these big tobacco company, Philip Morris, they went to the government in some other government, but probably they do it with everybody. And they say, look, one great advantage of people smoking is that people die earlier. Why it benefits the government if the people die earlier? Yes?
And the government doesn't have to pay the old retired people their money.
Yes, because so they save him in retirement, in pensions. So let me give you an idea. What is this? This is in the Pakistan war. Bangladesh. That's another thing. Okay, the average German state pension is around 1,550 euros per month. There is difference, men, women, former East Germany is a little less, but that's the average. So, it is calculated that smokers live on average 8 to 10 years less. That's a big chunk. So, let's do a little calculation. Where is my calculator? So, 1,550 per month in 1 year per 12. Can you see this? Yes. It's 18,600 per month, per year. Now, there are 13,600,000 smokers in Germany. So we make that into 13,600,000 smokers. It's already so big, I don't know how to read it. And then you multiply that into, say, 10 years, let's say 9 years. Let's be conservative. So how much the government saves if people smoke? Can anybody read? You did mathematics. What is this number? Sure? It's a lot of money. So the government, on the people smoking, makes a lot of money. First makes a €7 pack on every pack of cigarettes. And then it makes a lot of money because people die earlier. So how different from Prithu Maharaj, from the Vedic kings, is these things, you know? The mentality. I mean, we may not think or talk about this thing much, but the government knows. The government knows all the statistics. And this is just smoking. What to speak of drinking. Just for instance, just to give you an idea, in Germany, 793 cigarettes per inhabitant per year. That's like more than 2 a day. But that's every man, woman, and child, including Shimadvar. I mean, statistically, I hope it's not smoking, but so plus 82 liters of beer per inhabitants per year. And then 3.1 liters sparkling wine per inhabitant per year. And here there is not even the super alcoholics like whiskey, gin, vodka, those type of things. So anyway, this is just an example how the government, in one sense, has no incentive to stop people from these sinful activities. And we are just look at intoxication. Smoking and drinking, yes?
But wouldn't be a concern on the other side that if the people get sick, then the health insurance would...
That's why Philip Morris or a similar tobacco company went to say that, look, if people die earlier, you don't have to pay for pension, and also you don't have to pay for all the hospital bills that older people have. So definitely, when you are when you are killing your own citizens, there are few, we could say, repercussions, also economic repercussion. But the gain is huge because these people are not paying taxes anymore. What's the average life expectancy? in Europe, in Germany? 8 years. It's pretty high. So if you cut 10 years, you don't cut any year that they pay taxes. So it's a very good business. In average, yes, there is some hospital things, hospital expenses, but overall it's a big, big business like that. But what is in one sense even more concerning, especially for us, because we could say, okay, we don't smoke, we don't drink, we pray for people who do, we preach, we propagate a message of healthy lifestyle, vegetarianism, and we didn't even touch the meat industry. So it's a problem, but we are kind of aloof from this. Yes and no, because as Srila Prabhupada explained, what happened when this kind of government, and again, it's not just Germany or India, it's any government, cannot check the resultant actions of sinful life, namely war, pestilence, famine, earthquakes, and similar other disturbances. So some are man-made, some are nature-made. Like, I don't know how many of you read newspaper or the headlines, the news, and I'm not necessarily encouraging you to start, but just 2 days ago, there was the 6th largest earthquake ever registered on this planet. It was one 8.8 earthquake in Kamchatka. Some of you know where is the Kamchatka. It's the peninsula at the end of Russia. So that created a tsunami. I didn't check the news this morning because I had to prepare for a class. But that created a tsunami that will affect also the coast of North America and many other countries in the Pacific. Maybe some of you will check the news this morning, I don't know. So much destruction, so many problems. So Srila Prabhupada puts also earthquakes, war, pestilence, famine. So I want to share something. This is very personal and very, I would say, even emotional, but I want to share with you because we're talking about disasters, so why not one more disaster? What's one more disaster among friends? So a few days ago, I posted on my Facebook a post putting different photos. You may have seen these photos from Gaza. And I specifically started the post saying this is not a geopolitical post. I'm only kind of reflecting, meditating on the pain and suffering of millions of people. By the way, they're very close, actually. They're in the Mediterranean. They're not somewhere, they're just here. And these people, you might have heard about Gaza. Okay? So, people are starving, and there is an effort not to let the help going inside. I'm not going to get into even the names of the countries involved because that's not the point. So I put some photos of people intensely suffering for want of food, basic food, annamaya. Everybody will need food. It's not just materialistic people. So you see they go there with pots, with buckets, and there is a lot of anxiety, a lot of pain. Sometimes they don't get anything. Sometimes they get shot at while they're in the line. And you can see there are a lot of women, there are a lot of children, there are a lot of men. It's a hellish situation. I hope and pray you'll never find yourself in this situation. People are starving. Dying of starvation is very painful. And they're there. they're normal people. They are our brothers and sisters according to our philosophy, right? They're jivas like us. They're part and parcels of Krishna. See, buckets, pots, whatever they could get to get some food, whatever food, just to fill their belly. And this is the result. Some people are starving, losing all their body fat, because when you don't give food, after some time the body starts feeding on its own fat until there's nothing left. So anyway, you might have seen this picture, so I don't want to belabor the point. My point is this. I was very impressed, negatively impressed, from the comments that the devotees made to this post. I showed some of the comments. There were 61 comments, and I want to share some of them. This is like almost a sociological experiment. Okay, the first one, it may sound a little cynical, but it's legitimate. Horrible, but it's karma. Definitely, everybody faces the reaction and consequences of their own choices, of their own actions. So we understand this is not by chance. Any pain is not by chance, either people from Gaza or the people in Russia, Ukraine, Sudan, the Rohingyas in Burma. At the same time, of course, karma should not be an excuse to erase compassion. Compassion is based on the fact that people are suffering. People are suffering due to karma, and compassion is for people who made bad choices and now they get bad reactions. But still, we are in the realm of legitimacy. Then, this is Italian. Ovunque esista l'Islam diffonderà sporcizia e terrore, which is a completely false idea. They say, wherever Islam exists, they'll propagate filth and terror, which is not a fact. It's not an historical fact. In fact, in Europe, in one sense, the culture of Europe was saved by Islam. You may know that the Europeans had completely forgotten their cultural roots, like Socrates or Plato. It was Islamic intellectuals that they rediscovered and popularized those philosophers, not Islamic philosophers, Greek philosophers. And if you know a little history, you know how much Islam has contributed in the realm of architecture, mathematics, and so many other things. So the problem is that a devotee is saying this. Then another devotee say, don't start wars you cannot win. Which sounds like you can start wars that you can win. Those you can start. But don't start wars that you cannot win. As if these little girls, little boys, these little ladies, widows, they are the ones who have started the war. Karma will catch Zionists too. For them, place in hell is already reserved. These are devotees. So some people are Islamophobic, some are against Zionists. Zionists, what does it mean, Zionist? Simply, Zionist means those who support the idea of a Jewish state. That's all. The majority of, look at this. The majority of them in the picture, are Islamic jihadists hell-bent on oppressing women and killing Christians, Jews, Hindus, and LGBTQIA2+ people. Which is not a fact. In fact, Gaza has got also Christian churches, has also Christian priests. See, again, I want to make very clear, this is not a geopolitical statement. I'm just saying it's an expression of concern, because these are Vaishnavas. Some of them we may be even in touch personally. Hamas terrorists. Yes, Hamas are terrorists. They promote the killing of any Jews or Israelis that they can get their hands on. But these people, the photos, they're not. They're not. Somebody said something sensible, but doesn't justify what's going on in Gaza. It was terrible. We all condemned it, but you cannot kill, the strike of the Hamas, but you cannot kill the whole country over something the terrorists did. So what? In the past, England would have the right to exterminate all Irish people because the IRA, or let kill all Italians because of mafia. I hope they don't do that. Let's exterminate all American Southern population because of the Ku Klux Klan. It's very dangerous, this kind of thought. So it's very concerning when devotees fall into this type of statements, taking the whole race, the whole ethnic group, the whole religion, the whole country. These are bad, these are all terrorists, these are all this, these are all that. The people of Gaza elected over and over again a jihadist government to cause terror and continue to try to destabilize the entire Middle East. I don't know how much you are into history, but this is a complete false statement. The Gaza people elected Hamas only once in 2007, so 18 years ago. That was like one very rare democratic election that they had. And although Hamas was upfront in saying we want to destroy Israel, 75% of the people in Gaza were against that idea. So when a devotee says that elected over a jihadist government, it's completely false. It's very concerning. Then somebody brought a very strong argument because they were arguing, one Mataji and one Prabhu was arguing. So this Prabhu brought up, in woman the brain substance is not found more than 34 once. It's a very strong argument. You're talking about Gaza, you're talking about, because you don't have arguments with the ladies, so you say, which by the way is also false. All conception is also false. So these are devotees, these are supposed to be the brahmanas, enlightening the world, Whatever, go worship your Islamic death cult. Those children, those are an Islamic death cult. Then you are legitimately mentally ill. And I'm only taking some selection to give you an idea. Of course, this is social media, which is practically an open sewage, culturally speaking. But again, these are devotees. They have names with initiated names, the Dasa, Devidasi. Somebody else brought this point. The contribution offered by Jewish devotees to ISKCON is massive, which is a fact. But what this has to do with those people with those empty pots? So we are in the realm of abandoning all, not abandoning all religion, abandoning all logic. By the way, this is a friend, I know him very well. Why Srila Prabhupada did not travel to the Muslim world? As if Srila Prabhupada had not traveled to the Muslim world, Muslim people can die of starvation. It's okay. Plus, it's also an historical fault. Srila Prabhupada did visit predominantly Muslim countries like Malaysia or Indonesia. So, Iran, thank you. That's a big one. Iran twice. He went twice to Iran. So to say that Srila Prabhupada did not travel to the Muslim world is completely false. And of course, he might have preferred places which were more, we could say, receptive. That's obvious. But to say this is false. It's a lie. This is my friend from Italy. Hare Krishna. The identity of the group this is being inflicted on will prevent any empathy or concern to be shown on them. In other words, because they are Muslim who 18 years ago, when many of those kids were not born, because they are Muslim who elected 18 years old Hamas, this prevents any empathy. We cannot have empathy for them. You have to deal with the idea that these people have been trusted before and resorted to terrorism in pursuit of their goals. See, you may not have perceived, you may not have understood, but these little girls and these little boys and these little widows, they actually resorted to terrorism in pursuit of their goals. Killing children and women and deliberately starving civilians is crime in any religion. Even an atheist will agree with that. And then the answer, keep feeding on the jihadi stories and misinformation, and in 10, 20 years you won't be able to practice bhakti in the West either. Please save your empathy for people who deserve it. In other words, the Gaza people do not deserve empathy. So frankly, I tell you the truth, when I read all these comments, and there are many more, I felt dismayed. I felt really, it's a strange feeling, it's empty. I didn't even feel to argue or to respond or anything. I just felt these are devotees, Vaishnavas, and they're so polarized. Some are reasonable like this one, killing children, women, any religion would be against, even an atheist would be against. But some were some like anti-Muslim, some anti-Israelis. Somebody a little reasonable. You miss the point of the post. It's not a political statement. These people begging for their life are not terrorists. Women and children, young and old, civilized humans don't create suffering like this. Islamic jihadists who have a long history of forcibly converting or killing Hindus. Somebody started quoting the invasion of India 1,000 years ago, and the killing that happened in Vrindavan, Mathura, and we don't negate that. But what this has to do with the little girl with a plastic bucket seeking for food? So I felt very, very, very distraught, very, very painful, intellectually and in terms of as a movement. I share this post because I was deeply disturbed by the suffering of these people. I have no political affiliation. I despise cruelty and unnecessary violence of any kind. I pray for peace. This is a Mataji. My voice is for anyone in this world that is suffering. It's not a political post. It's a heart-wrenching reality. Now, against Zionists. The way New York Times is supporting Zionists who are criminals and murderers. No, all Zionists are not criminals and murderers. Not all people who support a Jewish state are criminals and murderers. Full stop. There's not much to say, really. The Vaishnavas are concerned for the welfare of all living entities. I want to finish with something positive. We are all God children. Empathy for all human beings, Jews and Palestinians. Okay. The point remains, Srila Prabhupada said, when governments do violence on their own citizens, on animals, many times Srila Prabhupada explained, you kill animals, you treat them like this, all the chicken, all the pigs, all the goats, all the cows, there are reactions. And these reactions devastate human society. And human society start looking more and more like a hellish planet. So these are some consideration on the topic. You may want to put any questions or comments. any Zionist or any Islamic jihad is here.
Hare Krishna. I have a question: how to save this feeling of peace and well-wishing to all other living entities when we or our dear ones are connected to these situations, and when
True knowledge. See, as you said, there may be dear ones by blood relationship, no, brothers, sisters, other people by ethnic group. At the same time, by knowledge, we can transcend or at least elevate our sense of belonging. In other words, in a material life, okay, I'm Italian, you're German. Traditional Germans and Italians don't like each other very much, okay? Of course, nobody likes each other any much. Germans don't like French. Nobody likes each other very much, especially closer they are, more they don't like. Italians don't like French, even French don't like French, frankly speaking. But that's a different topic. I'm not going there. I'm talking about knowledge. So, through knowledge, we elevate our sense of belonging. We know that we were all together inside Mahavishnu. And then we were projected out through Lord Brahma gave us these bodies according to our previous karma, different bodies, different forms, different species. Then in human form, we are born in Kali Yuga, where so much division, so much polarity, so much racism, so much prejudice, so much resentment. This group, this did that 500 years ago, therefore even their descendants are my enemy. And it goes on and on and on. So as devotees, definitely until we are really beyond the beyond, we may have some sense of, some sense of allegiance or alignment or some appeal for our country or our families. It's natural. We don't want to be artificially like, everything is one. But at the same time, through knowledge, we need to understand what this lady was saying. We are all children of God. So those who, like for instance, I know sometimes there are tensions here in Germany between devotees who were born in Ukraine and devotees who were born in Russia. I hear this thing, and it's very sad. It's very sad because none of these devotees are fighting in that war. None of these devotees are killing anybody, and they're just, in one sense, victims as everybody else. And yes, our families may be suffering due to certain political choices, certain policies, certain wars like that. But we should be able at least to control. It's natural to feel a little bit partial. It's natural because we are grown up in a certain culture. When there is a World Cup of football, it's natural that, okay, your country wins, you feel good. Anyway, both Italy and Germany won 4 times the World Cup, so that's not a problem. But it's natural. But at the same time, we need to control. Just like sense control means that it's natural we have attraction. Now, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarupasta Vegam. But Rupa Goswami say you tolerate that. So we may tend to hate Russians or hate Ukrainians or hate Israelis or hate Islamic people. We may have that tendency because we have a baggage, cultural, historical, ego. So, but we need to control that through knowledge and transcend that. Does it connect? Yes. Do we have a mic?
Thank you very much, Kaunteya, Prabhu, for this nice lecture. So many nice points in regarding to the purport of Srila
Many
Prabhupada.
terrible points, unfortunately. Yes, but thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so you depicted it very nice how this all suffering is created because we as a society, as a human society as whole are failing because we are creating so much, especially the government, so many opportunities to make other living beings suffer. And I wanted to ask you to a little bit depict the counterpart. So we know that we in ISKCON, we have this this astra of Shastra and the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name and book distribution. And I wanted to ask you from your personal experience, from your long time as a devotee, how you saw that this Yuga Dharma, this chanting of the holy name and book distribution maybe changed political situations, things like this, governments. Thank you.
Sometimes, of course, it's difficult or impossible on a human level to estimate the value or the impact of the Sankirtan movement, because we don't know what would be the situation if the Sankirtan movement would not be there. So we could imagine that without the Sankirtan movement, without the chanting of the holy name daily, public, without the Ratha Yatras, the situation of the world would be in much worse shape. And of course, it's not just the Sankirtan movement, not branded Lord Chaitanya, but any religious people who are praying in temples, in churches, in mosques. Srila Prabhupada explained, anybody who accepts God is already part of Bhakti Yoga. And he explains that, like Christianity, Islam, in one sense, they're part of Vaishnavism because they practice some of the process of devotional service, Navavida Bhakti. They practice Shravanam, they have the scripture, they listen, they practice praying, Vandana, they practice expanding, spreading their idea of God, like Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, they may not be the most popular people, but they're out there every week, knocking on doors, saying, look, think of God, think of the Bible, think of Jesus. So this all adds up. At the same time, because we don't know the reverse, if all these people, including the Sankirtan, the official Sankirtan of Lord Chaitanya, ISKCON, Gaudiya Maths, the Ritviks, if they were not preaching, what happens? What happens to the world? So certainly, by knowledge, we know that would be much worse. And certainly, we have enough information to fix many of the problems of the world. At the same time, I showed some of these comments because sometimes it's disheartening how even devotees get so caught up in this really mundane dualism. Jewish, Islamic, this, that. So sometimes it's disheartening. So it may be a long way to a Krishna conscious world. We do what we can. Everything is the hands of God. Will there be a major purification in which 5-6 billion people die? Few devotees survive and they may have more influence? Or slowly people become more and more sensitive? In Nuremberg, some of you were there at the Ratha Yatra. After Ratha Yatra, there was another procession without carts, without Jagannath. There was a procession, but it was quite big, maybe, I don't know, 500,000 people. And they were protesting because the Nuremberg Zoo decided to kill 13 of their baboons. Because they say, well, it's too much. It's too much. Or we don't know what to do with all these monkeys. So these people were coming, maybe they were not so colorful as the Ratha Yatra, but they were coming and shouting, and they had a lot of images of monkeys, like save the monkeys, save the monkeys. Then, 2 days after that, the zoo finally killed the monkeys. And it's a discussion I hear that it's all over Germany. Now, monkeys or no monkeys, there are people who become more sensitive. Who say, and some people will say, save the animals, don't kill the animals. So, will that come closer and closer and closer, meaning bigger and bigger and bigger, these sensitivities, this openness, this sattva guna, and they will understand more and will chant more, and then they will become devotees? Possible. Or we will all be exterminated, which is also possible. And there is no problem either way, because the soul is eternal. We will be exterminated anyway. Now, if it's because of an atomic explosion or just because of old age, we'll die anyway. So it doesn't make much. You have to die of something. Sometimes an atomic explosion is much better. First of all, it's more spectacular. And second, it's much faster. I saw a hand up somewhere. There was some hand? No. Okay, one hand.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhamma Pranam. Thank you for the amazing lecture. I just wanted to understand, so as devotees we try to not read newspapers, at least I...
You try not to read newspaper?
I mean, I don't... and try to concentrate more and more on the scriptures. But sometimes, maybe at work you get to hear such things and you get to know these things, or maybe at such lectures. So what should be an ideal way of taking these things, or what should be the perspective of a devotee when he hears or sees something like this?
Well, it's all confirmation. It's all confirmation. It's Kali Yuga. And there is a lot of falsity. There is a saying, in a war, the first victim is truth. I only selected some of these comments, okay? Somebody was even saying that actually this famine was created by the United Nations. I mean, wow, really far out type of thing. And somebody was saying, all that Zionist influenced media is all fake news. The other said, all the jihadi Muslim influenced news is all fake news. They were even discussing, they even denying the facts that most people, more serious journalistic agencies, most serious journalistic agencies report. Now, you are right. A devotee does not need to look at news unless it's a service. Now, if your service does not require for you to know what's going on in the world, you don't need to read newspapers. So this was not an advertisement for newspaper. First of all, we can see even devotees don't understand anything. Many devotees don't understand anything, even if they read news. I'm fortunate. I'm sorry. They may be, as the mantra says, they can satisfy all desires, but sometimes they can't understand newspapers. It's unfortunate. So, what's the use? Personally, I read newspaper. I see the headlines. I like to know what's going on in the world. For different reasons. It may be just a material attachment. But I like to know what's going on in the world. Now, if you don't feel attracted, don't feel the duty to do it. But at the same time, again, these are materialistic people, and they try to sell news. It's a big business. We were talking a few days ago, like in India now, India and the world, but mostly India. India is still obsessing about the plane crash in Ahmedabad, right? You open today any newspaper of India, no because they're Indian, no because of this, no because of that. They're still, it's what 1.5 months, 2 months, and they're still obsessing. Of course, 260 people die, but every day in India, 4,000 people die in car accidents. Every day, from morning to night. Already now in India, what time is it? 9 o'clock, means it's 12:30. On average, already 2,000 people died this morning for car accidents. Mopeds, car, buses going into a ravine, and 4,000 people died. And nobody talks about that. You see this selection. So these news are certainly distorted, filtered by business. What sells? What sells newspaper? What gets eyeballs? You know the expression eyeballs? You know, how many eyeballs you can get? There's a saying in the media, if it bleeds, it leads. Are you familiar with that? If it bleeds, it leads. Because people eat meat, they want blood, They don't give important news like, okay, how many people are going to church, how many people are praying, how many people are becoming vegetarian. Nobody cares about that. But even within the ghastly news of the world, they're very selective. 4,000 people die every day in India in the car accident in the middle of the road in an atrocious way, besides the millions that get injured. But 4,000 people every day, but after 2 months they're still talking about 260 people died in the Air India crash. You see how unbalanced the whole thing is? So, it's all Maya. We could talk much more, but it's 9 o'clock. Should we stop now? 9 o'clock? Yes?
I will. Yeah, I like this. Srila Prabhupada once said that you should know about everything something and about one thing everything. So I think it's that I think was in connection to Prabhupada reading newspaper also or watching, and yeah, I think because you showed these comments, it shows that these devotees are also like partially informed or like biasly informed. So if you know a little bit about everything, like I can speak Spanish, German, English. So when you read different newspapers, you see different news channels, different languages, the picture becomes more complete, you know, where the biases are, what's going on. So
it's a comment, basically.
Yeah, it's a short comment.
Yeah, I remember once we had this famous Radio Krishna Centrale in Italy, some of you heard, and the person, just the day before, just 40 years, just a few days ago was the 40th anniversary. You might have heard about this Heysel Stadium catastrophe. There was the final of the Champions League of football in Belgium somewhere. And there was an Italian team and an English team. And somehow the English, not because I'm Italian, but the English started pushing, and somehow people got crashed. And there was about 36 people died. In a football match, not in Gaza, in a football match. And it was huge, obviously. People, if it bleeds, it leads, that bleeds a lot. So, and during the Radio Krishna Centrale, somebody asked, was it online? No, people asked, so what's your comment in this horrible thing that happened? What's the comment? And the devotee did not know that happened. Although he's like a host in the live, he did not know anything. So he was started, Maya, Krishna, this, that. and there was a devotee who was listening to the radio, and he understood this devotee didn't know what he's talking about. And he did not have the humility to ask, what are you saying? What happened? No? So he started kind of philosophizing. Then this devotee took the newspaper, went in front of him, and he showed 36 people die. So then he kind of, okay, now I know. So it depends on your service. Maybe your service is just chant 180 rounds a day, and then you don't need the newspaper. If you live in the world, if you want to affect the world, you might want to know what's going on in the world. There is the famous story of Radhanath Maharaj. You might have heard. He tells himself, so I can say because he tells himself. He was in New Vrindavan, completely absorbed in his service. Completely absorbed in his service. And then after years of being totally in New Vrindavan, he went to do a school program. So he said to the students, you need to be serious, you need to take up spiritual life, otherwise you may be sent to Vietnam. And then the teacher and all the students look at each other. He said, sir, Vietnam War ended up 5 years ago. And Maharaj didn't know. I can tell this story because he said it publicly. So if you want to influence a country, a society, you need to know a little bit. Just like Srila Prabhupada, when he was talking with Professor Kotosky in Moscow, that academic Indologist, one of the first things he says is that I was reading in the Russian news yesterday that the government of Russia is willing and open to learn from other cultures, something like that. You remember? That's in the little minute. So he went to Moscow, he picked up the newspaper, and he tried something. That was Soviet Russia. He tried to find something that could connect. Therefore, if the government wants to learn, we have our Vedic knowledge, we have so many solutions, so many good ideas. I want to finish with the good news. Probably most of you heard about the Professor Kotosky. Right? This Professor Kotosky, the interviews. Well, I want to announce that his grandson became a devotee. Jai Grantarashma Bhagavad Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Now breakfast until there is something to eat. So I want to make an announcement because there is this special home program today. So we do, after the program, we do something about community building. After Guru Arti. That be okay? Yes.
I grew up in East Germany.
Ah.
Mostly one newspaper or one news agency. And the newspaper was full of positive.
Yeah.
This company accomplished this. The farmers accomplished this. It was like, where's more? Nobody.
You heard about that movie? East Germany. Then one lady goes into coma.
Yeah.
You heard what was
Goodbye
that?
Lenin.
Yeah, Goodbye Lenin. No. So the kid started
Yeah.
making it complete false.
Yeah.
The thing that actually is still communist.
Yeah.
You remember that movie, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly. Propaganda.
Yeah.
I mean,
In fact, I grew up in an area we had television influence from both sides.
okay.
So I grew up with having, always two sides of the, really opposite sides of West Germany, East Germany, but the politics. It's quite actually schizophrenic. Right? On the other hand, it also trained me a little bit to read between the lines because you know, you have to take from both, see what's the essence or kind of. I think with this news, I don't know, it just came some idea. Maybe for devotees would be relevant, you know, to have. First of all, I think we should have our own social media platform somehow.
Yeah,
I mean,
with our own.
Reaching the non-devotees, yes, but you know, for us, and then this news could be, you know, kind of how to connect us to Krishna. What Krishna want to tell us
Yeah.
when some news appear.